It was the kind of phone call that you never forget. Jogin Desai, the CEO of a tiny biotech company in India, was going about his day when his phone rang. A doctor from Hyderabad was on the other end, and he didn't sound angry, he was just confused and he sounded urgent. "What have you done?" he asked. Jogin's heart dropped. He was expecting the worst. Maybe something had gone wrong with their clinical trial? And then the answer came. "My blind patient is walking in the hallway." Let that sink in. A legally blind person walking after receiving an experimental cell therapy designed to treat dry age related macular degeneration or AMD, a condition that until now had no cure. And this wasn't a one off miracle. More such calls followed from more doctors, more patients, and the results better than what billion-dollar American and Swiss pharma companies had seen in their own trials. This is the story of Eyestem, an Indian biotech startup run by just 14 people from a 1200 square foot office in Bangalore, India. It is also the story of how science, personal tragedy, and relentless innovation might come together to transform lives, not just for the rich, but for millions of ordinary people around the world. And most surprisingly, they are doing it on a shoestring budget. And Big Pharma is watching closely. This is not just a medical story, it is a business story, it is a story about ambition, about access, and about dignity. And it is just getting started. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Nigdha Sharma, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Rahil Philippos and I will come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Friday, the 9th of May. To begin with, let us talk about what Eyestem actually did and why it is such a big deal. Dry age related macular degeneration or AMD affects the part of the eye that is responsible for central vision. It is progressive, it is incurable, and it is common, especially among people over the age of 50. In India alone, nearly 5 million people suffer from dry AMD. Globally, almost 200 million. Until recently, there were no good options, no drugs, no surgery, just slow, irreversible vision loss. But iStem is flipping that narrative. They are testing a cell therapy, essentially injecting retinal cells into the eye to restore vision. Not just to stop the disease, but to restore sight. And the numbers are wild. One of their competitors, backed by Roche, showed a 5.5 letter improvement in vision. Another American firm called Luxa reported 21 letters. iStem, their average improvement is 15 letters. And the consistency across patients, even leading retina experts are calling it persuasive. This is cutting edge science. And it did not start in a shiny lab with endless funding. It actually started with a heartbreak. Jogin Desai was not thinking about building a biotech empire. He was dealing with something far more personal, a family member facing vision loss. Around the same time, retina specialist Dr. Rajani Bhattu was seeing patients go blind with no treatment to offer. The both of them together realized something. This wasn't just about medicine, it was about dignity. My colleague Seema Singh and the editor of The Ken spoke to Dr. Bhattu, and she said that her patients were not afraid of death, they were afraid of being dependent. And that is what drove Dr. Bhattu and Jogin Desai to build iStem. And it started with a modest $1 million from friends and family, just enough to fund some research and enough to take a gamble. But Desai had a vision, a cure affordable to everyday Indians priced under $10,000. Now, here is where things get interesting. Most cell therapies today, especially in cancer, use the patient's own cells. It is effective, but it is expensive and it is hard to scale. Eyestem went on a different path. They used allogenic cells, which are cells from a donor source. They can be mass produced, stored, and distributed like a regular drug. That means lower cost, greater reach, and scalability. And they've stayed lean while doing it. 14 employees, a shoestring budget, manufacturing partnerships in India and Singapore, outsourcing everything they can except for their core innovation. Even the way they've gone about sourcing their cells is super smart. They license cells from the US National Institutes of Health Bank, paying a reasonable fee but getting quality starting material. From a single vial, they can grow up to 80 million retinal cells, which are enough for 160 doses. And their goal? 10,000 doses per batch. Now, let us not ignore the elephant in the room, which is money. Biotech is a brutal business. Cell and gene therapies are notoriously expensive. In India, most people cannot afford treatments priced in the lakhs or tens of thousands of dollars. Even discounted CART cancer therapy in India costs 40 to 45 lakh rupees and insurance does not cover it. Most people cannot dream of affording it. Desai knows this, which is why he is trying to do things differently. He just closed a $10 million funding round, bringing Eyestem's total to $20 million, which is a lot for India. But it is pennies compared to what US firms spent. And yet, Eyestem is attracting attention from 5 major global pharma companies who want it. Because this is not just good science, it is good business. Global biotech is starting to notice something. India is not just a manufacturing base anymore. It is becoming a source of innovation. Desai and his team are now preparing to file their American Investigational New Drug or IND application by the end of this year, which is their ticket to global trials and potentially global markets. And retina expert Dr. Srinivas Sadda, who chairs Eyestem's imaging board, sees the promise. He's seen the data, the consistency, and the potential for regulatory breakthroughs. And as he puts it, this is not just impressive, this is exciting. And of course, there is still a long road ahead. Eyestem needs to build out manufacturing, train doctors, and figure out distribution. They need to ensure reliability, scalability, and regulatory approval in multiple markets. But they've actually already done the hard part, which is that they've proven their therapy works. And they've proven that it can be done on a budget. So you see, this is not just about science. It's about strategy, it is about culture, it is about frugality without compromise. And it is the kind of story that could change how we think about medical innovation, not just in India, but everywhere else. So, what happens next? Will Eyestem become India's first biotech unicorn with a conscience? And will Big Pharma partner or compete? And will millions regain their vision at a price that they can actually afford? And most importantly, can science, business, and compassion really coexist?
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of the Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription unlocks daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted by Snigdha Sharma and edited by Rajiv CL.